Hi there, I'm Azara Tagaya and you're watching Ringgit Sense Plus, powered by RinggitPlus. On our show, we often advise you, the viewers, to have a monthly budget that you can stick to. However, it's difficult to determine how much that budget should be, as it differs for whether you're single, married, or part of a family of four. Well, the Employees Provident Fund, or EPF, has commissioned a study to do just that. A monthly budgeting guide for those living in the Klang Valley called BelanjawanKu. Now, since the launch, there's been some criticism on the guide, with many saying that the cost of living was actually higher for them compared to what is stated in the guide. So we wanted to find out more about the study itself. And we also went to the streets to talk to the public to find out, are people really living beyond their means? We sent our assistant producer, Nurul Ain Muhammad Yazid, to the UiTM campus in Shah Alam to ask the university students there what they thought about the monthly budget that they will soon be using once they start working.
Utilities tu sikit sangat. 100 tu tak cukup untuk bil handphone lagi, electric and so on. Tak cukup.
Tak berapa nak cover sangat lah, especially kalau untuk bujang yang diorang menyewa rumah sendiri apa semua tu. Tapi untuk yang memang tinggal dekat family, should be no problem. Kalau untuk saya yang hari-hari ulang-alik using public transport apa semua, money tu banyak pergi dekat touch and go. Lepas tu saya kena bayar rumah sewa.
Pergi naik public transport pun kalau kita duduk jauh dah kena charge yang banyak. Belum pergi lagi, tu balik pula nanti kena lagi.
Food, 550 no, is less than that. Okay, cuba yang kalau sehari dah RM20, seminggu dah 140. Kalau sebulan around like 600 macam tu.
Saya tengok food 550, which is untuk makanan untuk sebulan duduk dekat Lemah Kelang tak cukup. And then housing pula 300. Even dekat Shah Alam pun dah dekat 200 untuk housing. KL pula kita tak tahu lah macam mana. Campur dengan transportation lagi.
So how did the Social Wellbeing Research Center at University Malaya come up with the numbers in the budget? Our producer, Ui Beng Chiang, met up with its director, Professor Emeritus Datuk Dr. Norma Mansour, to find out. According to her, the figures aren't plucked out of thin air, but come from various sources, such as the Household Income and Expenditure Survey, the Consumer Price Index, and they even did surveys with various groups under 40 to gauge what people spend their money on. Data for the room rentals came from price surveys at websites like mudah.my and iBile. As for food prices, they visited hypermarkets and consulted with dietitians to get prices for balanced meals. Professor Datuk Dr. Norma says that the main principle behind BelanjawanKu is to teach Malaysians how to live within their means. It serves as a rough guide of how much you should be spending in each category.
It may be one item may, for instance, the more of the low income, as I mentioned, may exceed, certain categories you may exceed expenditure on that. Therefore, you have to cut on the other things. Someone did mention that a room it would cost more than what we budget for, which is 300 ringgit for a shared room. So, but if they cannot get a 300 ringgit room, then they would have to sacrifice on the other expenditure.
Some of the female students also raised concerns on the suggested amount that they should be spending for personal care, which is 70 ringgit a month for singles.
Rendah lah untuk RM70, especially untuk those women. Kita ada skincare sendiri apa semua. RM70 tu maybe boleh tampung untuk kita punya moisturizer.
It depends. Macam kalau beli, macam kalau toothpaste kan beli sekali je pakai kan. Tapi macam kalau perempuan sanitary pads and everything kan kena beli every month. So I think that's macam kena lebih kot.
Okay, well, how many the sanitary pad you only use once a month, and how much does the sanitary pad cost? 790 or 890, for 1 month. That's sanitary pad. So what other things do you use? You use your moisturizer. We calculated or estimated even how many cotton wool you use to that detail that our group did. Mind you, we have 5 economists working with us and other researchers. From the economists is from the faculty and statisticians. So we go to that level, and we also refer to, for instance, on the diet. On the diet, we go by the Ministry of Health that recommended nutrient intake. Yeah, so it has to be a balance between what you can afford and what's healthy. Yeah, so in this case, if your personal care exceeds 70 ringgit, then perhaps you have to cut down on other things.
For graduates coming out into the working world, it's a good guide in budgeting their first paycheck and to not end up in debt. We also asked the students what was their expected salary once they graduate.
Expected salary tak banyak, around 1,500, 1,500.
Around 2,000 plus lah, around 2,500.
Maybe dalam 2,500 ke atas, 2,500 ke atas.
Possible 5K untuk ekonomi sekarang.
You have to live according to your income, not to your lifestyle has to follow your income rather than your income to suit your lifestyle.
We also asked her why the amount recommended is much lower than the living wage recommended by Bank Negara in all categories. When Bank Negara suggested the living wage last year, it says it was the amount needed to live comfortably in Kuala Lumpur.
So this is the first time that something like this is out there, because we will share the details of the BelanjawanKu. Yeah, we will definitely share, because the living wage that Bank Negara had did not have all the details that young people could follow. So in our case, we have the details, we have the description, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. You don't go to Pantai or KPJ for your health, you know, for your healthcare, but you go to the hospital, the government hospital, because every Malaysian, if you have the identity card, you can go to the government hospital very cheaply at a very nominal price.
BelanjawanKu serves as a good guide for the lower income B40 group. For those who are earning more, Professor Datuk Dr. Norma says they can certainly spend more if it is within their means. What is important here is to use the guide to gauge if you are overspending in one category and if you have to cut down in other categories. After this, we take a look at the second half of that story. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about personal finance or want to share your thoughts about this story, find us on Facebook and YouTube. We'll see you after the break. Hi, you're still with me, Azaria Tagaya, on Ringgit Sense Plus. Now, earlier we gave you some insight to the BelanjawanKu Expenditure Guide for Individuals and Families, which was recently launched by the EPF and the Social Wellbeing Research Center at Now, almost all the university students we spoke to earlier said that they could not follow the suggested budget. Now, it could be that they still have poor knowledge of personal finance and how to manage their living expenses. Well, this time around, we also spoke to some working adults and retirees to see if they think they can follow the suggested monthly budget. We went to a local market at Taman Tun Dr. Ismail, a mostly middle-income neighborhood, to ask retirees and other working adults if they could live within the recommended budget.
Sekarang semua budak besar semua okey ready lah. Sini menyaga untuk buang masa saja.
Hutang dah tak ada. Arti apa benda kita nak belanja kan? Hanya untuk beras, sayur, ikan saja sikit-sikit makan harian. Kalau 2,000 pun dah cukup.
Anak-anak tolong bantu sikit begitulah. Kita dah pencen, inilah kerja dia. Oh lah setahun pencen.
Kalau makanan 850 saja
okey. Kita makan jimat-jimat lah. Nak belanja macam orang makan gaji besar, matilah kita kan. Berhutang pula lagi, buat apa?
2011 kalau RKL ni tak cukup lah. Kurang-kurang 3,000.
Bergantung pada tempat lah sebenarnya. Kalau ikut luar-luar daripada negeri selain daripada Kuala Lumpur mungkin cukup. Tapi kalau dekat Kuala Lumpur sebenarnya tak cukup.
Saya rasa okey, cukup makan sebenarnya kalau Amerika apa belum ada anak 4,000 gaji. Tapi kalau kita duduk dengan family, kita tak payah bayar sewa rumah. Kita bayar macam bil-bil air, internet semua, 4,000 cukup. Ngam-ngam, tak adalah hidup susah, tapi kita tidak boleh berbelanja lebih. And kalau nak bercuti tu kena extra saving sikit.
The chief author of BelanjawanKu, Professor Datuk Dr. Norma Mansur, explained that you shouldn't be dependent on your children to support you in your retirement, as they will have other responsibilities.
So in the past too, when people talk about the children will be your rizki and also in a way your investment, because they will look after you when you are older. Yeah. But the reality is, these children, when they grow up, they're also sandwiched between your own children and you as parents. And many of them, we hear these anecdotes or even reports saying that two couples cannot afford to look after their elderly parents anymore, because they too they have the demand of going to work, and also the cost is very high. And if both are working, who's going to look after an ailing parent, for instance? Yeah, so you will need help. So these are all realistic scenarios out there.
For those planning to have children, BelanjawanKu serves as a good estimate of how much you should earn before you can afford kids. For a family of 4 with 2 children, they even included tuition fees for religious classes and babysitter fees for the younger child.
For one child, from being married without children, it will increase by 30%. Yeah, from if you are married, you want to have one child, the expenditure will be 30% more. If you are having 2 children, it's 50% more than when you don't have any children. Yeah, so you will have to, if you want to plan to have 2 children, you can look at the breakdown and our expenditure, and that will probably guide you on how you should live when you have 2 children.
We asked Professor Datuk Dr. Norma to break down the categories in the budget for us. Social participation includes social events like Hari Raya and birthday parties. For singles, they can spend 150 ringgit a month, and for a family of 4, it's 250 ringgit. You don't have to spend it all in a month, but you should be able to save up for bigger expenses like giving out duit raya or ang pao. For discretionary expenses besides budgeting for holidays and sports, this is where you set aside money for your parents as well. For singles, it's 130 ringgit, and for a family of 4, it's 390 ringgit. If you want to give your parents more, you will have to cut down on your yearly vacation budget. For annual expenses, singles should spend not more than 90 ringgit, and for a family of 4, it's 400 ringgit. You should be saving this money over 12 months for things that you pay once a year.
For instance, they say, oh, I bought pots and pans, 60 ringgit last month. Then we said, but this month you're not buying pots and pans again, are you? So that we add on to the annual expenses or to the one-off. And then over one whole year, we prorate and we then divide it by 12 in order for us to get a rough estimate every month. How much are you spending on these kind of items?
Still, many elderly Malaysians we met found that they couldn't follow the budget.
Oi, mana nak cukup. Makcik pergi kedai sekali beli untuk belanja harian pun 100 satu hari.
Kalau nak selesa tu kena lebih lah. Tapi kalau nak hidup, setakat makan tu boleh lah ya.
If you go by one person's expenditure and you want to consider that as a national or a sample of a national, it may not be something that people can afford. And yet you don't see people lying on the street or squatting at mosques or churches and all that. That means that generally Malaysians can manage, they may cut on their food, for instance, yeah, or on other things. But the budget is supposed to be a guide.
Moving forward, Professor Datuk Dr. Norma says that the budget for BelanjawanKu will be updated yearly to take into account inflation. It will also be expanded to single mothers and families with more children. They are also looking into the living cost in other places.
Basically, the principle or the premise behind BelanjawanKu is to empower Malaysian household. Yeah? If the BelanjawanKu is said to be unrealistic, they don't know where to start. Yeah? But now they know where to start. Maybe in the beginning, one struggles with certain figures, certain items, but later, hopefully, once the discipline is in, then you're able to live according to your means, rather than trying to get an income to suit your lifestyle.
One elderly gentleman we met at the market gave the best advice for those living beyond their means.
Berkhidmat, belanja ikut pada-pada. Orang kata orang Melayu kata, pakai baju kena saiz dia. Jangan kita ikut pakai baju nak pakai kot. Awak pakai, awak ada gaji 1,000, awak pakai kereta Mercedes. Tak betul kan? Kepada berkhidmat.
Well, we hope the Belanjawan Guide can be useful to you. At the very least, hopefully it can get you thinking about coming up with your own personalized budget that fits your income. Now, make sure you set aside enough for savings and the life goals you have, such as retirement, getting married, or even your children's education fund. Now, if you want to learn more about how to do it, watch the previous stories we've done, and you can find those on our Facebook and YouTube. If you have any questions about personal finance, let us know there as well. Now, after the break, we speak to our partners RinggitPlus about life insurance. Which should you get, term life insurance or whole life insurance? We'll have the answers for you shortly. Welcome back to Ringgit Sense Plus. You're still with me, Azara Tagaya, and if you just joined us, you're just in time for our discussion with Ringgit Plus. Now, this week we want to find out more about life insurance, and to talk to us about it, we have with us in the studio Lee May, Manager Digital Insurance at Ringgit Plus. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you.
Hi. Okay, so first of all, tell us about the difference between whole life insurance and term life insurance.
Okay, so before I go into the differences, maybe I'll just explain the basics of life insurance. So life insurance provides benefit payout when you pass away or you become totally permanently disabled. The premium amount depends on a number of factors such as your age, your gender, risk of occupation, lifestyle, and also medical history. So naturally, if you're deemed by the insurer as a high-risk individual, then your premium will be priced higher. Also, if you want a higher coverage amount, then your premium will also be more expensive. Now, the differences is, as its name suggests, term life insurance covers you for a specific period of time. This could be a 5, 10, 20, or even 30-year period, depending on the term that you choose.
Okay.
So it's the most affordable type of life insurance because it's so straightforward and it has no frills. And it's also flexible in the sense that you can choose to terminate the policy after the term is finished, or you can choose to renew and extend it for another number of years.
I see.
Okay? Now, whole life insurance, on the other hand, covers you for your lifetime, right? As soon as the policy is in effect, no matter at what age you pass away, you can rest assured that your beneficiaries will receive the benefit payout as long as you continue to always make the premium payments in full.
I see.
It also comes together with cash value, which is an investment-like feature that's bundled together with your life insurance policy. So whenever you make a premium payment, the premium is split between death benefit and also the cash value. You can think about the cash value kind of like a savings account, whereby the accumulated amount will earn a specified interest rate over time. Okay, so because it comes with this cash value feature, that's why whole life insurance is more expensive than term life insurance. Okay, but it's important to note that even though it is more expensive, the premium for whole life insurance stays the same throughout your lifetime, right? Whereas for term life insurance, it usually is more expensive at time of renewal. So if you plan to always renew your term life insurance, then it's worthwhile to consider getting whole life instead because it may help you to save money in the long term.
I see, okay. Is there any difference what's the difference between life insurance and also medical insurance? Is there a difference in the way they pay out?
Okay, so life insurance, like we mentioned, only pays out upon death and total permanent disability. So this means that if you fall ill and you need to consult a doctor or get admitted to a hospital, then it's not claimable under life insurance. Okay, so this is why medical insurance is so important. Okay, as you know, medical and hospital bills can chalk up a huge lump sum of money, right? So if you don't have medical insurance, you will have to pay out of your own pocket. Okay, so in terms of life insurance, the benefit payout will be going to your beneficiary, whereas for medical insurance, the payout will go towards the hospital. Okay, so to just give you an estimate, the treatment cost of the top 5 cancers in Malaysia ranges from 50,000 and up, with breast cancer treatment being 350,000. Yeah, so even daily room and board at a private hospital can cost about 100 ringgit per day. So that's why it is very important to get medical insurance on top of your life insurance policy.
I see, okay. Speaking about beneficiary, do you have any tips of who we should actually name as a beneficiary in our policy?
Okay, so when you buy life insurance, you're usually asked to fill up a nomination form to nominate your beneficiary, right? So for Muslims, it's very straightforward. Nominees are usually the executors, whereby the policy money will then just be distributed according to the Islamic laws. Whereas for non-Muslims, a trust will be created in favor of the nominee if your nominee is your spouse or child, or if you're not married or you don't have a surviving spouse or child, then this would be your parents. So once the trust is created, then the money will be distributed. Basically, they can receive the money beneficially, right? Technically, you can nominate anybody to be in your life policy, but if the nominee is not your spouse, child, or parents, then that nominee can only receive the money as an executor, right? Which means that the executor cannot keep any of the money and must pass the money to the estate of the deceased. What this means is that money will then be distributed according to the will. Okay, and if there's no will, so if you want your nominee who is neither your spouse, child, or parent to receive the money, you must make sure that you name them as a beneficiary within your will, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so usually people tend to name their immediate family members as the beneficiary, but again, you can choose to nominate anybody you want. Just make sure that you also put this down in your will so that they get the money.
I see.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much can someone typically expect to spend a month on insurance, on life insurance?
Okay, so there's no hard and fast rule of how much one should spend on life insurance. Because it really depends on the amount of coverage that you need and also your earning capacity, right? So most people in general tend to spend 5 to 10% of their income on life insurance. So the reason why people don't spend a large proportion of their income on life insurance is because you don't want there to be a case where there's an emergency or a large unexpected expense that comes up that causes you to be unable to fulfill your premium payments, and that will cause your policy to lapse, right? So, but as long as the premium payment is within your means and the coverage is enough to sustain you and your family's lifestyle, then I think that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today to talk about life insurance, Lee May. But thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you again next time on Ringgit Sense Plus.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Now, that was Lee May, Manager, Digital Insurance at Ringgit Plus, talking to us about a few things that you should know when it comes to whole life insurance. Well, with that discussion, we wrap up today's episode of Ringgit Sense Plus, and hopefully you've enjoyed what we shared today, and we certainly hope that you've benefited from it. Now, for more stories on personal finance, as always, find us on Facebook and also YouTube and connect with us there. I'm Azara Tagaya. Thanks for watching, and remember to invest and save wisely.